Imagine a man who ruled one of the most powerful empires in history. He reigned for decades. He launched campaigns that made Europe tremble. He reached Iran in the east and the gates of Vienna in the west. His name echoed through centuries. But his greatest regret was not a war, not a defeat, not a loss of territory. His greatest regret was an execution order he gave with his own hand. And that execution order was given to the closest friend of his life, Suleiman the Magnificent, perhaps the greatest sultan in Ottoman history. But to truly understand him in this story, we must first get to know someone else, Pargali Ibrahim Pasha. Once the second most powerful man in the Ottoman Empire, Suleiman's confidant, ally, the friend he treated like a brother, and in the end, his victim. This is one of the darkest friendship stories in history. So who was this Ibrahim Pasha? The story begins in Parga, a small fishing village in Greece. A child born there, the son of a Christian family. Exactly how he came to the Ottoman palace is debated. Some sources say he was taken through the Devshirme system. Others claim his family sold him or offered him as a gift. Either way, the result was the same. Young Ibrahim stepped through the gates of the Ottoman palace. And there, everything changed. Ibrahim was an extraordinarily intelligent child. He had a remarkable gift for languages. He quickly learned Turkish, Arabic, and Persian. He had a passion for music. He played the violin. He was drawn to literature and poetry. He flourished in the cultural environment of the palace. And at some point, his path crossed with that of Prince Suleiman. It's worth remembering that Suleiman had not yet ascended to the throne at this time. He was still a young prince. Ibrahim entered his service, and over time a bond grew between them that went far beyond an ordinary master-servant relationship. They read together. They made music together. They talked for hours through the night. There was no void in Suleiman's life that Ibrahim could not fill. When Suleiman ascended to the throne in 1520, Ibrahim rose alongside him. The moment Suleiman took the throne, he granted Ibrahim a special status. First, he became chief of the inner chamber, then Mutafarika, then palace master. The steps were rapid because Suleiman's trust in Ibrahim was boundless. Then in 1523, one of the most controversial appointments in history was made. Ibrahim Pasha became the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire, its prime minister. This appointment caused enormous controversy at court because Ibrahim had skipped the classical career steps required for the Grand Vizierate. He had not served as a Beylerbey. He had not governed a Sangchak. He had no provincial administrative experience. But Suleiman did not care. The man he trusted was Ibrahim, and that was enough. Moreover, Suleiman made him an extraordinarily unusual promise. "I will never have you killed." These words caused a great stir throughout the Ottoman court. It was extremely rare for a sultan to promise his Grand Vizier immunity from execution. Ibrahim used this power to its fullest. In the early years of his Grand Vizierate, he was extraordinarily successful. He went to govern Egypt and brought the province into perfect order. The regulations known as the Kanun-Name-i Musir are still studied by historians today. He conducted diplomatic relations throughout Europe. Venice, France, Hungary. He sat at the table with all of them. Western ambassadors regarded him as the true voice of the Ottomans. In the 1526 Battle of Mohacs, he fought alongside Suleiman. He played a critical role in the crushing of the Hungarian army. Every success made him more powerful. Every victory made him more indispensable in Suleiman's eyes. But power changes people. Ibrahim began to grow arrogant, and this arrogance slowly created the enemies who would destroy him. His greatest mistake emerged during the Iranian campaign of 1533. Ibrahim used the title Saraskar Sultan for himself, meaning Sultan, Commander. The word Sultan in the Ottoman world was a title befitting only members of the dynasty. For a Grand Vizier to use this title, especially of his own accord, was an unforgivable transgression. Everyone at court noticed. and everyone fell silent and waited. Ibrahim had many enemies, years of accumulated jealousy, derailed careers, appointments that seemed unjust. All of them waited for their opportunity. And that opportunity came from an unexpected direction. Hurrem Sultan, Suleiman's most beloved concubine, who later became his legal wife. Hurrem Sultan had been engaged in a quiet power struggle with Ibrahim Pasha for years. Ibrahim looked down on Hurrem. He found her influence over Suleiman dangerous. At times he criticized her openly. Hurrem, however, was patient and extraordinarily intelligent. What was whispered into Suleiman's ear began to accumulate over time. Questions about Ibrahim's loyalty, concerns about Ibrahim's ambitions, warnings about Ibrahim's use of the Sultan title. Drop by drop, March 1536. Ibrahim Pasha dined with Suleiman at Topkapi Palace. They conversed. Perhaps they made music as they once had. Perhaps they read poetry. That night he stayed at the palace. By morning, Ibrahim Pasha was dead. Exactly what happened is unknown. Ottoman sources attempted to cover up the event, but some clues remain. There were signs of a struggle in the room, meaning Ibrahim did not surrender easily. He resisted. His body was secretly removed from the palace. No grand funeral was held. No official announcement was made. Only silence. All of Ibrahim Pasha's properties were confiscated. His name was erased from official records, as if he had never existed. The promise Suleiman had given, "I will never have you killed," was thus broken. So why did Suleiman make this decision? Historians still debate it. One view holds that Ibrahim truly overstepped. His use of the Sultan title, his independent movements during the Iranian campaign, his open hostility toward Hurrem, the sum of these had become an unbearable burden. Another view holds that Hurrem Sultan's palace intrigue was decisive. The accusations against Ibrahim were largely fabricated, but they had been enough to convince Suleiman. A third view is more tragic. Suleiman knew both sides, both Ibrahim's mistakes and the palace intrigues, and he was forced to make a choice: the state or his friend. He chose the state. Suleiman the Magnificent was never the same again. Historians write that he changed noticeably after Ibrahim's death. He became more withdrawn. He trusted less. He grew lonelier. For the rest of his life, he never allowed himself to grow as close to anyone as he had been to Ibrahim. His poetry changed. In the verses he wrote under the pen name Muhibi, themes of loss, loneliness, and regret began to dominate. Some historians argue that Suleiman referenced Ibrahim in one of his poems. No direct name, but that pain, that loneliness, it seems always present. 20 years after Ibrahim's execution, Suleiman had his own son, Prince Mustafa, executed as well. This time, Hurrem Sultan's intrigue was decisive, and again Suleiman lost someone close to him by his own will. Was it the fate of being a victim of palace intrigue? Or was there something fundamental in Suleiman's character, an instinct to protect power that overrode everything else? Perhaps both. Pargali. Ibrahim Pasha lives on today in the name of Istanbul's Parga Kapısı neighborhood, a small trace left on the city by his existence. But in the official pages of Ottoman history, his name long went unmentioned, erased, covered up, as if he had never been. History can be this ruthless. Even the most powerful men can vanish overnight. Even the deepest friendships can dissolve before the logic of the state. And sometimes history's greatest question becomes this: why was that promise ever made? How can a man who said, "I will never have you killed," give that order? Perhaps the most honest answer is this: no one, no matter how powerful, is greater than the promise they themselves gave. This is Dark Past Stories TV, the history they never told you.